So in this video we're going to create a basic window family. I'm going to start by going to New Family. I'm going to scroll down to a metric window and I'm going to click Open. We can have a look at the reference level. We have an exterior level where we will design our window. In our template we have preset parameters already. We have height, default sill height, and in the reference level we have width. So the first thing I'm going to do is save this. Save it on the desktop and we'll call it window. I'm going to start by going to creating some additional reference planes for this family. I'm going to place a reference plane on either side of the center. This will form the depth of our frame. So I'll use the dimension tool. Make sure you snap to the reference plane, not the center of the wall, when you're dimensioning this. And my depth of frame is going to be 90 mm, so it's 45 for each dimension. And I can go ahead and equal this. Then I'm going to use another dimension and I'm going to give this a parameter, and this parameter is going to be called frame depth. I'll leave that as a type parameter and click OK. So now we're ready to create our window geometry. I'll create just two more reference planes now on either side of my window. Again, I'm going to create another dimension here, and I'm going to add a parameter. I'm going to call this frame width. Okay. Dimension here, and I'm going to apply the same. So that creates the basic geometry for the reference level. I can go to family types. You'll see here the dimensions, frame width and frame depth. My frame width is going to be 50 mm. I'll click OK. You can see that those have updated. Now I'm going to go to my exterior view. You can see those new reference planes here. I'm going to do the same thing now for the top and the bottom. And this will give me a consistent frame width right around. Frame width. So I can flex that now. Flexing is when we change the dimensions to test and make sure our dimensions are moving the reference planes that we want. So if I change this to 100, and we can see that all the reference planes there are updating nicely. So that's perfect. Click Apply. So now we can create some of the geometry. Now there are a number of methods in which you can create the frame geometry. Some people prefer to use a sweep and then create a profile. I prefer the method of extrusion, and the reason I like to use an extrusion method is because it makes it easier for me to modify the profile of the frame in the one work plane, whereas in a sweep we have to use the two work planes and we have to create multiple pieces of geometry. So I'm going to go ahead now and create the extrusion. Draw a rectangle just in the middle here. I'm going to use my align tool and I'm going to lock it. Make sure you select the reference plane first and then the geometry that you want to lock to that reference plane. I'm going to draw another rectangle now, and this will form the frame. So I'll go ahead and align this also. Now you could just draw your rectangle on the reference planes and then click all the padlocks. However, for beginners I encourage this method as it ensures that you're locking each individual sketch line to the correct reference plane and not inadvertently locking it to other geometry. So I can go ahead and finish that. I can go to my reference level and you can see here we have our window geometry. So obviously we don't want our window depth to be that thick, so we're going to again use the align tool and we're going to align this to the reference planes we created earlier. And we're going to lock it. Go to 3D now. You can see here now we've got the frame to our window. So now we can go ahead and create the glass. So again we're going to go back to the reference level and I'm going to create additional reference planes which will be for the glass this time. So I'll make this 5mm and 5mm. And rather than creating a parameter this time, I'm just going to simply lock these, and that will form the guides for the thickness of my glass. So again, I'm going to go back to the exterior view. I'm going to create another extrusion. And I'm going to align the glass edge. And click finish. If I go back to my reference level, you can see here we've got the glass. So again, I'm going to align that to the reference planes we created earlier. And here's the basic geometry for our window family. Now we do need to apply materials to these, but before we do that, we're just going to flex this family and make sure that everything's working as it should be. So we're going to go to the family types. We're going to change the height of the window to 1000, the width of the window to 500, and we'll click apply. So you can see that all the geometry is moving. Change our frame depth to 100 and test that. That's good, that's working. And the frame width will change to 100 as well. And that's changed as well. So now that we've fully flexed our family, we're going to create a type. And we're going to call this 1000 pi by 500 wide. Okay. And now we need to look at applying some materials.